rate, keep generating, accelerating, exterminating cherry heads, run for cover. I'm the rap Danny Glover. Ask your people about Capadonna Lethal. Read it in the Staten Island Advance. I pack a big dick in my pants. I spend food stamps, fuck illusion, vocabulary intrusion, cooling in the hotel with Holiday and Tiffany, balls up in the chimney, taking the risk. All on my chest, be my satellite disc. Poppy Wardrobe King, the rap therapist from the stat. Wherever we at, it's fast shit. What you talking about, bitch?
I'm sorry, I was watching Battle of the Bastards. I'm sorry. I was watching Game of Thrones, y'all. I'm sorry. Forgive your boy. Oh, wait. I gotta do this. I have to do this. This is the most messed up thing I've seen all day. Wait. I have to do this. I'm gonna do this with y'all in real time. Hold up. Do not shoot the messenger. Okay? Got one job. Do not shoot the messenger. Hold up. Where is it at? Okay, wait. Let me do this. Hold up. I promise it's going to be worth it. Hold up. Do not shoot the messenger. You ready?
Got hired on as Ridgemark Middle School's first ever bus driver with Down syndrome. How does it feel?
It feels really good. I like driving. Kids can be safe with me. I practice a lot. And it's a really big bus.
It sure is. Congratulations.
Good evening. I'm standing outside Ridgemark Middle School where, yes, that is a full-size school bus jammed into the second story of the building behind me. Authorities say the driver, 28-year-old Timmy Reynolds, somehow managed to get the bus up an embankment and...
Oh, my bad. Wait. There we go. There go. My bad. Y'all with me, I got a charter bus for all of y'all, because we all going to hell, okay? That shit was funny. Carlton, wait, thank you for the two. I love your creepy shows, bro. Yes to your question. Oh, for real? Hey, okay. Don't be shy. Come out and tell us what happened to you. We're all friends here. No one's going to judge you. It's a safe space here. Safe space. All right. Let's get into it. Let's get right to it. What do you mean? What do you mean? Yes, you got to do this with me, okay? It's a team thing. It's a team effort. It takes a team effort to go to hell. Wait. Let's do it again. Run it back.
Got hired on as Ridgemark Middle School's first ever bus driver with Down syndrome. How does it feel?
It feels really good. I like driving. Kids can be safe with me. I practice a lot. And it's a really big bus.
It sure is. Congratulations.
Good evening. I'm standing outside Ridgemark Middle School where, yes, that is a full-size school bus jammed into the second story of the building behind me. Authorities say the driver, 28-year-old Timmy Reynolds, somehow managed to get the bus up an embankment and...
Damn it, Timmy. That shit is funny. I'm sorry, son. Okay. Tonight we're talking Dogman stories. Now I'm debating because I found 3 interviews with Blue. Okay, Blue is the subject of tonight's Dogman encounters, right? Because pretty much whoever was watching his Facebook Live when he showed us his backyard and something ran across his yard, and that sparked a whole wave of interest. Matter of fact, let's get right into it. So this is the footage. I clipped it, right? Because he was doing a Facebook Live. We're just going to focus on what this thing was. And then we'll get to the interviews, because he did 3 interviews after this incident. Dark Waters, and a couple other places he went to tell his story. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's just go ahead and see what can we pick up what this thing is. Jesus Christ, did you see that? You see the size of that thing? Did you see the size of that thing? Holy cow. Bruh. Look at it compared to the size of the light pole. Now, I can clearly see a hock. You know, what they call the backwards bent out leg of a dog. That's a hock right there. That's a whole hock. Okay? But it runs by pretty quick. But like I said, we're gonna pull up his interviews, and he's gonna elaborate. But let's run it back. Run it back in real time. That thing is compared to the size of the light pole. Woo, buddy. That was in his backyard. That was in his backyard. That was in his motherfucking backyard. That was in his backyard. Now, I'm not here to tell you this is real. You should believe in it. Even Napoleon, the little evil man, Napoleon had wrote in his journals about dog-headed people. Okay? Now, whether you want to call them descendants of Nephilim or spiritual beings, I don't know what demons, I don't, what they can fit all. They can be some of everything, you know, but so now you're starting to see it come in frame. I mean, that thing is huge. Look at that. Look at the leg on that thing, man. Matter of fact, let's do this, because this is what I clip. It's a longer clip of, you know, him just, you know, say, hey, there's stuff in my backyard, and it just so happens he opens the door and that thing runs by. Oh man. So let's watch the whole full clip. Where is it? This is it. Hold up. Okay, so let's go here. This is the original clip. This is the original clip. All right. Okay, where's the play button? There we go. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Now, somebody put this thing on infrared. Okay. Somebody was smart enough to put this thing on infrared. Ma'am, that is no damn panther. Okay, so shout out to the person who put this thing on infrared. This is what it looks like under infrared. Let's continue. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get to the original clip. Now this is Blue. This is in Blue's backyard in Fort Pierce, Florida. Let's go. He's already spooked because he's already seen it earlier that day. This is Facebook Live from like 6-7 years ago. All right. See, so he already seen it, and they're already commenting like what you need to do, right?
Man, I swear to God, this is the second time I done seen this shit, but man, I'm freaked the fuck out, like, real deal freaked the fuck out right now, like. I'm telling you, I it's some weird ass shit going on around this motherfucker, dog. Oh my God, it's some weird ass shit going on around this shit. Like, I'm really just out my fucking mind right now. Cause I really think I just saw what the fuck I just saw, like. And just to show y'all that I ain't capping on no screenshot shit or editing no photos and none of that shit. I'm finna open my fucking back door up and show y'all that the picture came from in the back of my fucking yard, man. Let me see if I can flip this bitch around. That's the exact motherfucking spot now. That's my backyard. I'm zooming in a little piece. This is the exact spot that I just. Hold on. Listen, dog. What in the fuck is going on around this shit?
All right. That's how we got here. Now, let's get to his interview. One of 3 interviews he did. The first one he did with Dark Waters. So look, let's go here. Okay, let's go.
Extremely fast on me because I'm a busy man and I cannot keep up with it all. But I will tell you this, I'm extremely excited to have on the line someone who had one of the most prolific Dogman encounters of recent history. I'm happy to present.
Carlton Way, do you think runaway slaves may have encountered them? Hell yeah! What? I mean, New Orleans has its own term for it, Rougarou. All right, so people know about these things down there. Let's continue.
Present this interview with Blue to you, my friend, great guy who I've had an opportunity to talk to about his encounter, and I really want to do a deep dive into what happened, how it came about. Now, to manage everyone's expectations, first of all, I need to address some things up front. I've said this on Facebook, I've said it on YouTube, I've said it in other interviews. The behavior of trying to go to a person's house who's had a Dogman encounter, guys, really has to stop. So I'm not going to be getting into, if your expectation is to get details about where this person is, you ain't getting that from me. If your expectation is to get that from my Facebook groups or my website or my YouTube page, that you cannot get that from me. I'm not doing that. And the number one reason why I'm not doing that is because I know we have some crazy people in the community, like really, really need medicine, crazy people in the community, and they will do anything. So I think our number one objective should always be to protect people and witnesses who've had encounters because they have the information that we want, but we can't get the information or evidence that we want if those people are being exposed and harassed and hounded. Okay, with that being said, Blue, how are you this afternoon? How is life treating you so far?
Everything is getting a little better from 2 weeks ago, so I'm pretty good now.
Well, that's awesome. I know it's been a hectic 2 weeks. Let me ask you this question: did you expect all the activity after you put out that evidence? I'm pretty sure you didn't, but you didn't. Or did you expect it?
No, I didn't expect none of that at all. Everything is new to me with that type of situation. Well, I've been through crazy shit, but to actually see it caught on camera was different for me.
Right, and let me ask you this question. Had you even heard of, like, Dogman? I know you heard of werewolves. Everybody's heard of a freaking werewolf, right? But had you heard of the concept, the concept of a Dogman prior to seeing this encounter, or having this encounter?
Never heard of it a day in my life.
Okay, so we established that you didn't know anything about it, which is great because
werewolves are not a Dogman.
Okay, but everybody knows about werewolves from movies, so I figured, that's why the Dogman itself, the Dogman phenomenon, which is just an upright walking wolf that stands on 2 legs, that looks exactly like what you revealed in the picture that you put out, literally to the T, is what Dogman is. Some people call it werewolf, some people call it Dogman, but there's as you know now, there's a whole community surrounding the concept of Dogman. All right, so share a little bit of background information about yourself. Just give us a little background, whatever makes you comfortable. You don't have to go too deep. I ain't talking about, what you had for breakfast or, who your ex-girlfriend, boyfriend was. I mean, just a little general information, like what you do for a living, how you ended up in that area, how long you've been in that area where you had the encounter.
Well, originally, well, I live in Florida. I've been here all my life. I'm 32 years of age. The current place that I'm living now in Florida, the address I'm at where I ran into the encounter, I've been here for 7 years now. And I mean, everything has been okay. I'm living here, and I've never really seen anything crazy like that up until now. But that's basically it. I'm really not a outside type of person or travel type of person. So I'm always home. I'm a homebody type of person.
Right. And so you're not an outdoorsman. You're not out in the woods. You're not hunting. You're not fishing. None of that stuff, right? So there's no chance that
I
like
mean, I
something
like
followed
to
you home,
fish.
right?
I mean, I like to fish, but I doubt something followed me home because I don't be in the woods and stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha. And that area around where you live, we kind of talked about it. There's a canal back there, and it leads. If you could just reiterate that, it's a canal in that area that leads in one direction. I thought you said to like a lake, in another direction to a bayou. Which was it?
Yes, it flows from the Okeechobee River. I mean, the Okeechobee Lake, and then it goes from the Okeechobee Lake into I guess you would call it a lagoon, or we call it an inlet, which connects to the sea. So it's a stream of fresh water, then bracket water.
Okay, gotcha. And I just wanted to get that on the record so we'll have an understanding of what was going on in that area. All right, so now when we start talking about Dogman Blue, there's a lot of theories out there, right? And I'll share some of them with you, and just so you'll understand why I'm gonna ask you this next series of questions. And I'm from New Orleans, so I say ask instead of ask, so people make fun of it, bro. But I'm from New Orleans, bro. I'm not changing my lingo for nobody. You dig? So,
Hey, it's okay.
so there's a couple of thought processes. There's a thought process that Dogman is just a werewolf, which is a human being that converts into looking like a wolf, right? Or like in the movies. There's the next concept that Dogman is just a dog. I mean, a gigantic upright walking wolf. It's that way 24 hours a day. It doesn't convert. It doesn't do anything. And then there's the third concept of them being interdimensional beings that travel through space and time and pretty much like can appear anywhere at any point in time. I've talked to people who've had all different types of encounters. The werewolf encounters I kind of threw out the window because my mind can't wrap around the fact of my neighbor Bob converting into a wolf, right? My brain can't wrap around that, so it's probably my fault. With that being said, do you have any kind of spiritual or religious practices that you do that could have invited something in to come see you, or could have taken a hedge of protection down from around you, which would allow these beings to notice you? Have you done anything recently that would kind of create a scenario like that?
Nope, just been doing my usual, same living every day.
Okay, so no spells, no hexes, no curses, no nothing.
Nope. Well, I ain't gonna lie. Me and this white girl got into it the day before all of that happened, and she threatened to kill me or whatever, and I cussed out real bad.
Okay.
Not the white girl.
Well, when you say real bad,
I did. I cussed her out and told her, like, I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to fight her and everything, because she made a comment on a live that I made, and she was like, "Oh, don't play with me because I'll have your family at a funeral on a Saturday." No, not a funeral, but a church on a Saturday. And it kind of pumped my blood a little bit because everybody know why black people go to church on Saturday.
yeah, that's only one reason why you go to church on
And
Saturday.
and it's usually because someone's dead and you're going to a funeral.
Right.
So she did threaten me, and I did kind of say some things to her, and I did kind of tell her, like, if I can't get you, I'm going to send something to get you. But I didn't think no shit was going to happen for real.
But you didn't actually physically do anything. You just said it, right?
Yeah, I just said it. I didn't actually go do nothing to her.
Okay. Let me ask you this question.
I,
Are you one of those people who, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm just trying to get to are you one of those people that normally, like, for example, I'm a person that if I say something, if I predict something like that it's going to happen with someone around me, it normally comes true within 3 to 6 months. Have you ever experienced that where, okay, I say, well, I'm going to be, for example, when I started this, I said I'm going to be the best, narrator in the world, right? It took about 2 years for that to happen, and I consider myself the best, and I've been told I'm the best. Like, are you one of those people that can kind of speak into existence things? Have you had a history of that happening in your life?
yeah. I mean, I thought it was just karma.
Okay. All right, gotcha. But there's no hexes, no spells, no curses, no candles lit, no nothing like that. So,
No, nope, none of that.
all right, well, that we can throw that out of the window. So there's really no magic involved. And
No,
it's
no,
important.
no voodoo or nothing.
Good. And it's important that we touch on that because if we start to eliminate some of the factors that could have caused the encounter, then also we know now that maybe it was encounter in passing, as opposed to you having 100% of these creatures' attention. Maybe it was just something that happened in a moment in time. All right, so let's go into Your very first encounter with Dogman. You told me about your roommate having something a while ago. Then your other encounter. Then this encounter came. So let's start with your roommate. Let's talk about what happened with your roommate where he saw these creatures. How long ago was that?
Well, I've had an encounter before he saw the one that he saw,
Okay.
because the very first time I've ever saw this, like with the naked eye, like I've actually saw something that kind of freaked my mind out, was last year. But the one that I saw when I first saw it was small. It was like maybe 5'2", 5'3", and it was right at my back door. And it kind of like, it didn't freak me out in a sense, or I wasn't really scared. I was just amazed because it was something I never saw before. And that was the first time something crazy happened to where I actually seen one. And this one was literally like 2 feet away from me. It really wasn't that far. It was like right there. And, you know, I was in my backyard, well, not my backyard, but at my back door, you know, where I was broadcasting live from.
Right.
And I like to sit back there and I like to, you know, smoke my cigarettes so that I don't, you know, clog my house up with cigarette smoke. So, you know, after I got finished smoking the cigarette, I shut the door, but I also forgot, like, oh, you got a cigarette in your hand, why you didn't throw it out? So when I swung the door back open, I'm still hanging on to the door as I'm swinging it open. It's like a little person with fur all over his body standing there at my back door next to the trash can. And when I first swung the door open, he froze and kind of had his head like tilted down a little bit. And as I'm sitting there looking, I'm just like, what the fuck? And I'm looking for like maybe 2 minutes just staring at it. I made a comment in my head. I was like, who child is this in my backyard? Because it was late at that. Then I thought it again. I'm like, who little boy is this? And the moment that I thought this, he opened up his eyes and he looked up at me very slowly, and he just stared for maybe like 13 seconds. And I stared back at those big yellow eyes and was like, oh wow, in my head. And when I blinked, he turned to the side and took off. It was so fast that I just said in my head, you're tripping. This can't be real. You are tripping. I shut my door. I locked it. I sat there for maybe like 10 minutes to think about what I just saw. And the only thing I could think in my head was, maybe you going crazy. Whatever you was, I'm just going to call you little one. It went on about my day. Went on about my life. And this was maybe last year, 2019, about November. So maybe months went by. Mm-hmm. Months went by. I'm going to say maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago. You know, my friend had not moved in with me or whatever. And he was going to visit one of his, you know, dates. He had a date and he was leaving to go on the date. And usually when we leave my house, we like to walk the canal bank, because the canal bank ends up on the main street over where I live. So he said while he was, you know, walking down the canal to go meet his date, he said that when he got up to the power box that we have out here, he said he saw something. And he said as he was walking up on it, it froze on him and just stood there and watched him. And he said he was so scared that he stopped first and just was looking to see if the thing was going to attack him. But he said it never attacked him. It just stood there and watched him. So he said he turned and he went a whole another opposite direction. And he said as he was leaving, he wanted to make sure. He said he never took his eyes off of it because he didn't know if it was going to attack him or not. He said that as he was walking away, he said it watched him walk all the way to where he was going to go. And he said he don't know what happened to it because he just went. He didn't want to think about it no more. But he said he was kind of scared. And I asked him, I was like, well, did it look like, you know, such and such? I was like, did it have black fur all over it? He was like, yes. And I was like, did you see its eyes? And he was like, oh, yes. And I was like, were they big and yellow? And he was like, yes. And I was like, did it kind of look like a werewolf? And he was like, I don't know. He was like, but whatever it was, it scared the fuck out of me. So I was just like, was it this big? And he looked. He said, no, you must have seen something else because it was way bigger than that. And I said, what? And he was like, it was way bigger than that. And I was like, oh, wow. So I'm thinking in my head, like, that can't be the same one that I saw months ago unless they grow really fast.
Right. So let's circle back real quick. So the one that you saw outside the door, can you give a little bit more of a detailed description of it? You already touched on it. Clearly, it was about 5 feet tall. You described it as like the size of a little boy. But could you give us just a little more in-depth details description? And it's important because these are things that you having this kind of up-close encounter.
Wait. Why you say something like Quisha? You know, I'm not doing this with you, B-Boss. I'm not doing this with you. Not tonight, sir. Not tonight.
And then being able to articulate it it's like legendary, bro. Like, cause most of these people out here be lying. Honestly, they just be lying their fucking ass off about what they saw. They be making up shit. So let's start with we open the door. The first thing we see is this little furry creature about 5 feet tall. What color was the fur again? Was it black? Was it like a blackish brown? Was it black and?
It was well, it was at night, but it looked like it was all black.
Okay.
Jet black.
And when we start talking about the head, what kind of head were we looking at?
Like I was saying, it looked like a regular human head, but you know how most animals' ears are on the top of the head?
Right.
His ears wasn't on the top of his head. His ears was exactly where our ears are sit on our body, on our head. I thought he was a furry human.
Wow.
Like
So
it looked at human. Like he looked at very humanish. Like if he wanted to, he can cut all the fur off of him and look just like a human. I don't know, but he was furry. He stood upright, like how me and you would stand up. He stood upright. His arms were pushed to the side as he was froze, and he looked it just like a furry human.
So regular human hands, regular human feet, no claws, no crazy feet.
Nope,
No
I didn't see no claws. I didn't see no backwards legs or funny shaped legs. I saw what I thought appeared to me to be a little boy. Only thing that made me think different that he wasn't a little boy was his eyes. Because those eyes were weird. Like, I've never seen big eyes like that. They were huge, and they were yellow. In the middle, like the pupil part of the eye, was cat-like. It was shaped like cat-like, almost.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy.
Okay. Let me stop there, because that's the end of that one. So let me go to the, once again, he did interviews. Hold on. Let me find it. Okay, so he did this one a year later. Hold on, let me see where I'm at. Okay, let me jump around. Okay, let's go here. And this is his second interview with somebody else that he did. All right, this was 4 years ago, but this is a year after his encounter. Okay. Let's speed this up. This is kind of long. Okay, let's go.
I could believe it because that's what whatever it was, looked like he was looking for something.
Huh.
And then he just so happened when I was like, he heard me because as I was trying to slam the door and lock it, he turned around and looked right at me.
Really?
He turned right around and looked right at me as I was slamming the door and locking it.
Wow. What did his face look like?
I didn't see a mouth. All I seen was big glowing eyes. And I didn't see a nose. And it had like this triangle almost shaped like head. Like the head wasn't really big versus the rest of the body.
In the video, you're right. It seems like it's all body and legs.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, but it has a small head. And it's shaped almost like a triangle a little bit. I didn't see any type of fur on it or nothing. It just looked like skin.
Wow, that's remarkable. So with this Dogman creature, and you've our DW's actually shared some of you sent me some too. Some of the pictures that you've taken. It looks like you have everything there. It looked like Dogman, Sasquatch.
Now I can't find the pictures. I went online looking for the pictures that they say he posted online. I can't find them joints, and there's so many pictures out here that's either AI or just so janky that's not even worth pulling up. So I don't know. I can't find the specific pictures he took that night. So let's go.
Oh yeah, I saw a lot of those.
And it's all back in this canal.
Right in the same spot. It's like they was popping up afterwards, knowing that spot was known to see stuff like that. And it's like they still was popping up days after, months after.
Okay, so they like to follow where water goes. Most people, hunters, know where the big game, whatever, they like to follow the waterways. Okay, if there's water nearby, most creatures, animals will flock to it or make that part of its habitat. So they like to So they are known to migrate from north to south, depending on the seasons, and they do follow waterways, lakes, canals, whatever the case may be. If there's water nearby, you may have a chance of something out there, especially if it's out really rural. Okay, let's continue.
So this canal, it runs all the way through Fort Pierce, almost, right?
Yeah, that channel runs all the way through Fort Pierce, all the way from this county to it runs basically through the whole county.
And you said it kind of goes up into the sea.
Yeah, it goes out into a lagoon inlet that we have over here on Hussergen's Island, which is brackish and freshwater mix, where the water of the sea mixes with the fresh water of the land.
It'd be interesting to talk to some folks like in other parts of town where the canal runs to see if they're experiencing some of the same stuff.
Yeah, they are all across here. Like I got a friend, I stay on 32nd Street. I have a friend that lives on 15th Street, which is almost across town. And he was telling me about an incident around the same time when they came out in the newspaper saying that there was a lizard man running around Fort Pierce. He told me one of his neighbors also came in contact with something like that because they called the police and everything and it killed their cat.
Oh man.
Now they heard the cat out there fighting over something. And when they finally found the cat, they didn't say the cat looked like it was eating or anything. They just said that it looked like something like a dog got hold to him and tore him. You know, dogs get hold of cats and tear them up. Sometimes they don't even eat them, they just tear them up. They said that's how the cat was looking.
Wasn't there another incident where a person was hurt? They were like thrown up against a telephone pole?
And they was trying to rule it out saying she got hit by a car.
Wow.
Like a hit and run case.
And this was right after all that happened.
And then when this killed a woman, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, she died, but she didn't have like injuries of being hit by a car. Like she had no outside bruising.
Yeah, and then, you know, forensics can tell if what's involved in, you know, that's why they get paid those big bucks. They can tell what was involved in somebody's death. And if there was no bruising of a vehicle hitting her, you know, it'd be kind of interesting to see those case files and try to determine what really happened there too, because it's all this stuff's happening in the same area.
It happened in the same area. I stay on 32nd. She got the incident happened with her on 25th, which is our main road that all roads connect to, which is Martin Luther King.
And you were saying like the daddy long legs, we'll call him that. Daddy long legs kind of brought a different type of fear with it than the other creatures you experienced.
Yeah, daddy long legs had me sleeping under my mama's table for about a good week or so.
Man,
I couldn't even stay home. I had to go to my mom's house and sleep under her table in her living room.
It was that scary of an experience.
It was that scary. I didn't know what the hell was going on. That Dogman, I saw that before. I can expect that. That doesn't scare me. But that daddy long legs, I don't know if it's because it's the unknown and, you know, most people fear what's unknown. I don't know what it was, but daddy long legs gave me a whole different feel.
Did you feel like it would hurt you?
If it got the chance, yeah.
You know, that's instincts telling you something in us.
But seeing that was just straight fear.
I think that was what was so special about the footage that you caught and you posted live. First off, other people were there seeing it live, and because I've talked to people who were trying to debunk it and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, no, from seeing it like the first time I saw it, I knew something was going on. It was real. I didn't know exactly what that thing was, but
oh yeah, that was all real. That wasn't nothing about that was staged. Like I'm from the hood. I don't really be on stuff like that, and you know I like scary movies and shit, but I ain't used to scary movies in real life.
Monsters coming from a canal in real life, running across backyards.
Yeah, that's something you only see in a movie.
Exactly.
So
wow.
It was nothing fake about it. I didn't wake up one day and just say, "Oh, I'm gonna make up something and put it on Facebook." No, it was never nothing like that. It was actually unexpected because the day that it actually happened, prior to that day, we didn't get rain for a while, maybe like 15 to 17 days. Like it just only rained, just straight rain from the morning time to the night. That's all we got for at least 15 to 17 days was rain. So that particular day, the sun finally came out. And that's what happened. At first I thought I was hallucinating because it's like, oh, I ain't seen the sun in almost 3 weeks. You know, maybe I'm just tripping, but as the day progressed, shit just kept getting weirder.
So there was more strange stuff that happened that day?
Yeah, when I first woke up and realized that we finally got sun and it stopped raining, I sat out on my front porch because I hadn't been outside for a while because, you know, we was all stuck in from the rain. And I thought I saw a man standing in the clouds, like a white figure standing in the clouds, but I don't know. Then I seen a big black butterfly. It was huge too. So I thought I was tripping. So
how big would you say it was? Like as big as a bird?
No, not as big as a bird, but maybe about the size of both of my hands put together, which that's about the size of a bird.
Yeah, the size of a bird. That's pretty big.
Yeah, it was a big butterfly. It was real big. I thought it was all black, but when I saw it again, it was black and yellow. I just only saw the black up underneath it, but the top of it was black and yellow. But he was huge. He was real huge. He flew right past and hit my house and kept going. I came in and decided to clean up, and that's when it all started. I got to the back door to take me a break and was sitting there on the phone with a friend,
and thought I saw a dude standing over in the bushes looking at me. So I kept telling my friend on the phone, like, hey, I think somebody over in the bushes watching me. And they was like, man, you tripping. Ain't nobody over there. You just over exaggerating. Ain't nobody over there. And I'm saying to myself, like, it's somebody over there. So I took pictures. I just pulled out my phone while I was talking, put it on the camera, and just started taking random pictures. Like, I took maybe about 12 of them. And I didn't check it right then and there. I went back and continued to clean up. And then when I came back, the whole scenery looked different. Like, it looked like there was someone over there at first staring. But then when I came back for the second time, it didn't look like that. So something told me, check your camera roll. So I went and checked all my pictures. And at first, you can see an imprint or something. But if you don't really look at it, you won't be able to tell what you're looking at. But eventually, of me sliding through the pictures, it's like it exposed itself to me. Like, it went from not being able to be seen to, hey, look, here I am.
All within the picture itself.
With all in the pictures. I have a slide of it. And you could tell from start to finish. And each facial feature that it gave me was different. It was never just one simple face of something. It was numerous of faces. Like, I don't know if it was posing for the camera or if it knew it was on camera, but it let itself be known, and it gave me a couple of faces and all.
So somebody can just look at it and say, oh, well, that's just shadows or pixelation or something with the camera.
But no, he did different poses on the picture, so no picture was the same.
And did it look like a man when the picture actually came out?
When it looked like a man when I was just looking at it myself, but on the camera now it looked like a werewolf.
Is that the picture of the werewolf in the bushes that you took? Yeah, that one's pretty remarkable. That one's floating around too.
Yeah, that picture right there. They're saying that all that happened on the same day.
And you were saying yesterday that this day almost felt like, since it rained so much and it was this weird vibe, that like another world was opening up in ours.
Like we was in another dimension, another alternate universe or something. It just, I don't know. It just felt different.
And see, I've always that's interesting to me because I've been out when it's rained before with another gentleman, and as soon as we got to this area, the sky opened up and start pouring rain. Well, we saw this weird looking creature as well, and there's always something spiritual about water. You know, we're baptized in water. They say you can swim into these underwater caves and coves and go into another dimension. So maybe it does have something to do with rain. If you're a believer in that type of stuff, which I'm a spiritual person.
I could believe it because it did rain a lot. It rained a whole lot prior to that happening. I don't know if because it was raining, we didn't really have that many people up moving around or running around the city, and then plus we were in quarantine at the time.
Right.
So I don't know if that had something to do with it, but they came out that day and they let it be known that they here.
And that was another thing I wanted to ask you. During the quarantine and all that, like wildlife started breeding and spreading to places it's not normally seen. Did you see an increase of these creatures during the quarantine?
Well, after that, yeah, I was starting to see all kinds of stuff. I helped my last year after it happened, I helped my mother them move about October, November last year. I was helping my mother them move over to the next city, which is in the same county. And after we were done moving, I saw another I guess Dogman, but it was a different color.
What color was
it? The one that I'm starting to see now is like some kind of brunette, like a burgundy and brownish color.
So it stands out more than the other ones do. Can it hide as well, since it's different colors in the foliage and shadows and stuff?
I don't know. It moves just as fast as the other ones do. But this one, I don't know. It's like when I first saw him, we was leaving after we had unpacked everything, and they was bringing me back home. And we was riding past some woods that was over there. And when I saw it, I saw him because of the light of the sun was shining on him. And he was running through the woods, and he threw his head up and looked at me, and I looked at him and was thinking to myself, like, oh Lord, it's another one.
Man,
he's a Lord.
Me or something, but I ain't see him no more until maybe some months later. But when I saw him, he just like popped up in my face real fast and then just disappeared. But he was bigger.
You say popped up in your face, like what do you mean?
Like I was walking up into my mother's yard, and it just like for a brief second, I just saw the imprint in the shadow of his face, and he just looked at me, and then he was gone. But he was like right in my face, like he was right there in my face. Like if I would have took some more steps, we would have been touching each other. He was that close.
Wow. So it seems like they're targeting you in a way.
Or I don't know. It seems like, I don't know. Maybe it's something about my energy, but whatever it is, it's drawing them to me. I don't know if it's because of the live or.
I can believe that. That's something we talked about before. The energy of some people, and you know, all energy vibrates and at different frequencies and stuff. Maybe there's some folks whose energy is closer to these creatures, or they can pick up on these creatures more than other people.
I could believe it.
So you have the incident, and that was the first one that you saw in the backyard when you were at your dad's and you went to throw the cigarette out and he was just standing there. That was the first time you saw one up close?
When in 2019, 2019 was the very first time I saw one like up close.
Like, and you weren't really afraid of it?
No, it didn't. It didn't give me that energy to be scared of it.
I mean, a lot of people, because that's, you know what I mean? A lot of people see that and they don't.
Your phone kind of went out.
Yeah, a lot of people would see that and think that they're seeing some sort of a monster.
Yeah, it didn't give me that impression when I first saw it at my back door.
Not like the daddy long legs.
Yeah, now Daddy Longlegs scared the shit out of me.
It was scary footage to even watch. Just because it was so weird.
So just think about actually seeing it in person and actually being there. Like I stayed away from my house for almost a week or two, sleeping under my mama's table in her living room, but I was just that scared of Daddy Longlegs.
Wow. Did you get the feeling that it would hurt you?
I mean, it looked like it was looking for something, but I think if it really wanted to hurt me, it wouldn't have been shit I could do the way it moved.
Yeah, and that thing was moving. It was booking it.
Maybe he was out looking for the dog man that I caught, or I don't know. It was weird though, but it seemed like he was looking for something.
And then it just happened to notice you.
When I made that yell, when I was like, he turned right around and looked at me like, wait a minute, bitch, how you see me?
Man, you know, I really would like you down there and kind of do some investigating in that canal. I bet there's all sorts of stuff going on down there.
It do too. That canal don't be playing. Like before all of this happened, it was a while ago. It's like this big field that's over here on the same side that the picture and everything where I took the picture of the dog man in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big field over there. It used to be the movie theater, like back in the days when my mom's them was young and they used to go over there and watch movies and stuff. It's a abandoned house that sits over there. It's been there forever. But I used to go over there and hang out with some of my friend guys or whatever. And this one particular night that I was over there, because they used to have like these big boulders that were stacked up on top of each other. And we used to climb on top of the boulders and go smoke and stuff and just, chill. So this particular day I was over there, waiting on some of my friends to come meet me so we could chill and smoke on the bricks, on the boulders or whatever. So when I walk back there, use my usual, and I go back there all the time, it sounded like something picked up one of the boulders and tossed it. And these weren't no small boulders. These was boulders that only machinery could be able to pick up.
Yeah, that big.
And whatever it was, I ain't try to find out. I hauled ass and left it. I ain't been back ever since.
I don't blame you. But you can hear him pick up a boulder and throw it?
He tossed that bitch. And when he tossed it, I hauled ass. My friend, I'm talking about where you at? I told him, I ain't coming over there. They talking about, wow, you don't know shit. I told him, I don't know what it was, but something over there, and I ain't trying to find out. So I ain't been back. I walked past.
That canal, it's this place is like backs up against that place, the canal that's running through.
Yeah, it's right there. It's like, yeah, it's right there. I literally walk past it almost every day.
Wow. And it tossed the boulder.
I never actually saw what threw the boulder.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, all it took for me to hear something, and that was it for me. I left and hauled ass, and I ain't been back over there since.
You should go back and check it out sometime.
Well, I might be able to now because it don't really faze me like that. Like when I first saw Daddy Longlegs. Daddy Longlegs, I don't think I'm really scared of.
More than whatever tossed the boulder?
Yeah, see, I never saw what tossed the boulder, so it just was. It was a little frightening, but I never saw what tossed the boulder, so I wasn't really that scared of it because I never saw it. But I saw Daddy Longlegs.
So you know what you know what it's all about and be scared of it. So the Daddy Longlegs has been replaced by this Slender Man looking creature.
Yeah, he pops up like he just pops up out of nowhere sometimes. Like I think the last time I saw him, it was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was walking to the store, and it was standing next to a pole, like a pole, like the poles with the lights on them.
Right.
It was standing next to it. So when I was looking at it, I'm like, what the hell is that? But as I got closer, I realized that it was whatever that was I saw on the side of my window that one time.
Oh man.
When I opened up my window and saw that tall figure that was all black.
So you opened up your window and saw a tall all black figure. How close was it to your window?
It was right in my driveway.
So close enough for it to take a few steps and grab you if it wanted to.
No, I was behind the window. I ain't opened the window. I just opened up the curtains and was looking out the window. Yeah, and it was just like standing there. When I looked, I said, what the fuck is that? And when I said that, he was gone.
What was it doing when you saw it? Was it just standing there like, was it looking at your window?
No, it was just standing there. Like, it was waiting on me to come to the window or something. Because as soon as I came to the window and looked at it, it saw me, I saw it. It was just gone.
I'm looking for the story I covered a while ago with the old man. And he said it was running next to his car trying to get in. And the man was so terrified telling this story. He clearly had PTSD trauma. And I can't remember what episode or whose show it was. And I'm so upset because I wanted to hear that. I wanted to re-listen to that again. But let's go ahead and finish this up.
And I was like, man, I don't know what the hell going on. I really got to be tripping.
It's almost like they try to mess with you.
Sometimes they be seeming like that just to see if they can scare me.
Right. That's what it sounds like, because they'll come and hang around just long enough for you to see them, and you kind of shook up and then take off. Because as fast as that one that you filmed was moving, if it wanted you, it could have had you.
Yeah, there's no way, and there's no way possible that if it wanted me, yeah, it could have got me. The way it moves, all of them move fast like that, though.
Like no matter what kind of creature, if it's one of these weird type of cryptid creatures that moves like that you've seen.
Yeah, that everyone I saw moves fast like that. It's not one that I haven't saw that doesn't move fast like that. It's like it's like they move. It's like they're moving through time or something.
Right.
And then there's ones that I see in the daytime, and then there's only ones that I see at night. Like the
found it. JT's encounter in Tennessee. Yeah, okay, we're gonna re-listen to that story again because that was horrific. Okay, found it. Okay, let's continue.
The one I was just telling you about, the tall shadow-looking man with the little head, big body, skinny arms, skinny legs. I only see him at night, but I see the Dogman in the daytime and the evening. Like it be varying.
What do you think it is? Like, why do you think some of them just come out at night and some you can see all through day and night?
Maybe they're nocturnal like some animals are.
That makes sense.
I don't know. That's just maybe. I don't know. But I know with some of them I only see at night, and then some I see in the daytime, like the Dogmans. I see them sometimes in the daytime, like the one I just recently started to see with the burgundy hair, like or red or whatever you want to call it.
That one you'll see during the day.
Yeah, I see him during the daytime too. Just like I saw the one that I caught the picture of, the Dogman that I caught the picture of. I saw him in the daytime, but I didn't see Daddy Long Legs till the night. It was night when I saw Daddy Long Legs.
Yeah, that Daddy Long Legs thing. That looks like some sort of a creature that would only come out at night.
Yeah, maybe because of the skin. It looks like the way his skin looks like that. The sun will probably burn his skin up.
Yeah, I think it's a monster.
I know he scared the hell out of me.
So is that a wraith? Is that what he thought he saw? Is that what he saw? A wraith? I don't know. We'll have to look into that sometime. But let's continue.
If I was never petrified in my life, that day he petrified me a little bit.
I could just imagine.
That's how I knew how the officers felt when I seen them. The same way I was, seemed like that's the same way he was when I saw Daddy Long Legs.
Well, I'd be kind of petrified too if would you say you're about 5'9"?
No, I'm about 5'6".
Well, yeah, if somebody was 5'6", started growing to above that height, and I was looking up at him, yeah, that kind of tripped me out too.
Yeah, one of my friends said the same thing, but I was playing with them, and they was really scared of me.
The interesting thing,
though, I'm gonna stop it there. Let's stop it there. Okay, so that was basically Blue, the retelling of his situation. I can't find his pictures, so one day hopefully I come across it on Reddit or something like that. My man J3, thank you for the 20 on the chat. Anytime you do a cryptid show, it's 20 on site. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, I found the episode. Now, Matt Emsh's story is pretty scary too. We'll cover that another day. But this one with this old man, holy cow. This man's on the verge of tears telling his story. Okay? He's on the verge of tears telling his story. And the stress, I mean, you can literally, the stress this man is under telling this story. Is this it? Okay, let me find where yeah, episode 117. Yep, JT. This is JT. Okay. Okay. Once again, I'm not here to convince you these things are real or not. It's not my place. Let me find me. Okay, let's go here. All right, I found it. This is a horrific story. The way this man tells his story, and you can literally, he's on the verge of tears. This is the most harrowing story. So two other scary stories Dogman encounters is Matt Emsh. His is pretty terrifying. And Roy Stubblefield. He's a trucker that ran up on his truck. He shot it, killed it, came back, government took it, threatened him. So like every other day we'll cover those two stories. But right now I want to go over this one more time with y'all. For some of you that have never heard this man's story, others we've already covered it a couple months ago, but I want to go back over it again because The literal stress. This man is so stressed and retelling this story. So let me get right to it.
Like that. In recent years, we've had programs on dealing with Bigfoot and things like that. And actually, my interest in that is how I discovered Dogman Encounters and discovered that there was such a thing as a Dogman. I'd never heard of that. And, of course, I did on one program that I watched. It dealt with more than just Bigfoot. It brought in the Beast of Bray Road, but they didn't use the term Dogman. And so I was kind of surfing the internet and finding different things.
Hold up. Somebody sent me a link in the chat. Hold up. Let me pull it up. Let me see what it is. What it is. What is this? What is this? What is this? Also, somebody. Oh my God! Wow, that's great. That's a perfect single. That's a perfect way to frame it. So this is what it looked like. Look how big that fucking thing is. Holy fucking cow. Yeah, that's what he saw that night. Look how big that thing is compared to the light pole. Holy fucking cow. You see hawks on the thing. Clearly that thing has hawks. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, bet. Okay. Okay. Stop. Okay, let's get back to JT's story. Horrifying story. Horrifying. I'm just let it play out. I ain't gonna say shit. I'm just let it play.
On Bigfoot, watching things on YouTube, and you know how it brings up the suggestions of things you might be interested in. And I saw Dogman Encounters, and that's what piqued my interest in Dogman Encounters, and I started listening to it, and it brought back the memory of something that I had just pushed out of my mind and really suppressed for 35 years.
Well, I'm so glad you did find out about the show. For 35 years, you kept this story to yourself. Why did you decide to come out with it now?
Well, it's been maybe about 8, 9 months, maybe even a year since I first discovered Dogman Encounters. And like I said, this thing, I had suppressed it, and it just all came flooding back to me as I began to, and I listened voraciously. All of the Dogman Encounters that had been made up to that point, I listened to them every night until I heard all of them that had been made up to that point. And it triggered this memory, and all these things started coming back to me, and the anxiety and the fear. You know, for all this time, I've just had an anxiety about the woods and about driving at night and things like that. My wife and my children, I've always cautioned them when they're out at night to make sure that their doors are locked and their windows are rolled up so that nothing can get in. And really, I had psychological problems back years ago, and it caused me to engage in some behaviors that I shouldn't have at that time. And I really believe that this experience was what triggered that at this time. And I've been debating all this time about whether or not to contact you, and listen to the program and listen to other folks' encounters, and you talking to them about what they had been through and putting out the information that you have and that your guests have. It really helped me to deal with this thing, and it really helped me to understand some of the problems that I've gone through, and listening to the program helped me. And so I got to thinking maybe if I just told somebody about it, because I hadn't told anybody. I've never told my wife. This thing happened when I was 17 years old. I didn't tell my parents. I never told any of my siblings. I've never told my children and none of my friends. I've never told anybody anything about what happened to me that night. And so, like I said, I'd been debating about it for a long time. And finally, the other night, I came to the decision that the program had been such a help to me, and listening to other folks had been such a help to me, that I thought maybe that if I called you, of course, I contacted you, first of all, and reported the encounter, and you called me, that if I talked to you about it and told you about it, that it would help me some more. And maybe by me talking about my encounter, maybe possibly that if I tell what I went through, that it could be a help to somebody else.
Well, I'm so glad you did decide to come forward. And if nothing else comes clear out of this interview, I want to make sure you totally understand this point, JT. Because of your encounter being such a bad one, I totally understand why you kept it suppressed for all the time that you did, and I totally understand why you didn't come out and share it with anyone for as long as you waited to do so. You say you put this encounter out of your mind for years. In the long run, though, do you think you hurt yourself or helped yourself?
Vic, I don't believe that it helped me. I believe I actually hurt myself by doing it. And like I said, trying to deal with the anxiety, I turned to external things that I'm not going to go into, and things that I shouldn't have been doing in order to cope with it and to deal with it. And that in turn caused me to hurt other people, some of them my family. And of course, this has been a long time ago, and I've since stopped those behaviors. I stopped them years ago, but for a time there, I hurt other people because of the reaction that I had to what I went through and the things that I did to try to cope with it, that brought out behaviors in me that did harm to other people, especially to those that I love. And I really regret that now. And if I hadn't kept it to myself, maybe if I had talked to somebody at the time and told them about it, maybe if I talked, I've got a real close friend that I've been friends with ever since I was in elementary school. I've lost contact with the vast majority of the people that I went to school with and a lot of folks that I was friends with when I was a teenager, but I didn't him. I still haven't told him, but I believe if I had, he probably would have understood, and maybe it would have helped me, and I would have gotten it off my chest, and I would have dealt with it better, and I wouldn't have wound up doing the things that I did that hurt other people.
I sure do hate to hear that you wound up hurting people in the process of trying to deal with this, but hindsight is 20/20. You can't go back and change those things now, as you very well know. Let's get into the details of this encounter now. Your encounter happened late one night in 81. Please tell us all about it. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Oh, Lord. Okay, prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves. The stress this man is under. Let's get into it.
All right. As I said, this event happened back in 1981. I was 17 years old. It was really hot that night, and it would have been probably the latter part of July or perhaps the first week or two in August. I mean, it was really hot, and of course I was driving that night when it occurred, and I was driving with my windows down because I didn't have any air conditioning. But anyway, this event happened when my wife and I were first dating. I think maybe we'd been dating maybe about a year. I had just gotten my driver's license. Most teenagers get their driver's license when they're 16, but I didn't get mine until I was 17 years old. My dad had just bought me a 1968 Dodge Coronet, and I really loved that car, and I was really proud of it. It was kind of a burnished copper color with metal flake paint. It had nice mags on it, jacked up in the rear end, you know how the folks did with the muscle cars back at that time. It had a 318 engine in it, and of course now there's a lot of bigger and better Mopar engines out there, but this engine had been bored out and it had been built. It had quite a bit of power, and I had a nice set of cherry bomb mufflers on it, and man, I just loved the sound that it made as I drove along, as I downshifted or accelerated. The roar of that engine coming through those cherry bomb mufflers. And you know, now that I think back on it, and since we talked the other day, I've been thinking a little bit more about the encounter and trying to make sense of it and how it occurred, and I got to thinking about it. It's very possible I triggered the encounter that night, and really what I consider as an attack by what I was doing with the engine of that car, because, you know, as I would go into curves and I'd downshift, maybe, you know, sometimes I was kicking it up into neutral and goosing it, and, you know.
No, guys, it's not AI. No, Vic does not do AI. He interviews real people. I do have it sped up a bit, but no, this is a real man telling his real stories, real encounters of what he came across 35 years ago. Let's go.
Revving the engine when I'd come out of the curves into the straightaways, I would kind of get into it just a little bit, and, you know, just listening to the roar of that engine coming through those cherry bomb mufflers. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this thing was in the middle of a hunt as I was driving, and I'll tell in a moment where the event occurred, but as I was driving down this road, there was pasture fields on either side of me, bounded by high ridges and woodland, and there was cattle and horses in the fields, and in other places there was silage corn. I don't know if you know what that is, but primarily in this part of the country, I live in East Tennessee, just a couple of counties to the northwest of Smoky Mountains, and in our part of the country, it's primarily cattle farming, what people out west would call a small ranch operation. Primarily they raise beef cattle, some dairy cattle, and they raise silage corn. And of course, they harvest the ears of corn to feed the cattle and to feed hogs and things like that, horses, and they grind up the corn stalks and the leaves and everything and make what they call silage out of it, and they store it in silos, and they use that as feed for their cattle and horses and their hogs and things in the winter. And so I could see these cornfields, and it was a bright moonlit night. I could see occasionally these cornfields, and also at that time there was a lot of tobacco raised in this part of the country. Of course, there's not so much anymore, but back then just about everybody had their own patch of tobacco. They would raise tobacco and sell it. And I could see cattle and horses in the field. It was such a bright moonlit night. I could see in the fields almost as good as you could in the day. And also interspersed among the cattle and horses in the field were deer. And it's very possible that this thing was in the middle of a hunt and about to maybe spring on a deer or maybe even a cow or a calf. And I interrupted its hunt with the sound of this engine as I was driving down through here. But like I said, I live in East Tennessee, maybe about 500 yards south of the Virginia line, and my occurrence happened actually over the line in the state of Virginia. But I was going to see my wife, as I said, and I wanted to show her this car that I had gotten, that my dad had bought for me. I wanted to take her for a ride in it. You know, I was real proud of it. I wanted her to see it. And I was going to visit her at her parents' house, which is actually the property that we live on now in our home. But she lived at that time, we were teenagers, and she lived at that time with her parents, and I lived with mine. This was several years before that we got married. But my grandparents, they lived on a road that's called Wagoner Holler Road, and this road runs about 20, 25 miles long, and it begins in southwest Virginia, and it crosses over the line and passes through 2 counties in Tennessee as well. But the occurrence happened on the Virginia side of the line. Like I said, my grandparents live on this Wagner Hollow Road. I really don't know why they call it a hollow. It's really kind of a narrow valley, and just like most of the area around here, it primarily consists of narrow valleys and hollows, and bounded on all sides by high wooded ridges. We've got a lot of trees here. I mean, you could start from where I live, a squirrel could, and just about, almost without any breaks, except for, where the roads do pass through, travel from my house through the state of Virginia all the way to Cumberland Gap into Kentucky, and almost never have to touch the ground. I mean, there's just woods everywhere on all the ridges all around, and this is how this valley was, this Wagner Hollow Road. This is how it was. The road was real curvy, narrow country road, and it just kind of meanders through the valley all the way on the Virginia side and on the Tennessee side, with farmland on either side, and of course 3-strand barbed wire fences all along the way, and fields. The valley here, it goes anywhere from 300 or 400 yards on either side of the road. In some places narrows down maybe to 150 yards or 100 yards or something like that, but it varies from different places. But anyway, I was going to take the route through this Wagner Valley Road to go and see my wife, and my grandparents lived in this Wagner Hollow Road, and my mother asked me if I would drop her off at my grandparents' house to visit with them while I went to see my wife, and then, come back and pick me up afterwards. And so I agreed to do that. So I took my mother to my grandparents' house, and I dropped her off, and I went on up to where my wife and I live now, to her parents' house, and I took her for a ride in the car, showed her the car, and I ate supper with them, and we stayed there and visited together till maybe about 11:15, something like that. And then I left, and I turned off the road that she lived on, where we now live, onto this Wagner Hollow Road, and went back to pick my mother up at my grandparents' house. And now, as I said, this road, it's got a lot of sharp curves in it. There's some straightaways, but for the most part, it's just a windy, twisty, narrow country road. You can't go too fast. And of course, I just got my license. I was an inexperienced driver. My car, I hadn't had it too long, and I wasn't used to it. And so, of course, if you know anything about those muscle cars, they do great in the straightaway, and you can just fly with them, but they don't take curves too good. And so I couldn't go real fast. And I probably wasn't driving over 30 miles an hour at the maximum. And in a lot of cases, I was slowing down maybe to about 20 miles an hour. But in any event, I was going down through there, and I was downshifting and revving the engine and listening to the sound of the engine coming through those cherry bomb mufflers. And I was watching and looking at the cattle and the horses and the fields and everything, on either side as I was going down through there. And I was just getting ready to go into a long and sharp curve that curved around to the right hand. And I noticed on the right-hand side of the road, and as I was going down through here, like I said, the moon was lighting everything up, and I could see everything almost as good as I could during the daytime in the fields. But the ridges and the woods on either side, they just kind of appeared like clumps, shadowy clumps. I couldn't really see much detail from them. And as I began to go into this long curve to the right, there was a shadow that kind of detached from maybe about 100, 150 yards off on my right, kind of detached from the shadows of the tree line, and started moving at an angle away from the tree line, almost paralleling my vehicle, but coming at an angle. And I could tell by the way that the road was curving around to the right and the angle that this thing was moving, but it was going to intersect my vehicle. And I mean, this thing was moving on. Now, what I'm about to tell you about Vic, this all happened, and it couldn't be more than just a few seconds, maybe 20, 30 seconds, something like that. Certainly less than a minute, and couldn't have been any longer than that. But it just seemed like time just slowed down to a crawl, and it just seemed like everything was moving in slow motion. I don't know what it was about it, but there was something about this figure that just unnerved me, and it just made me uneasy. This, whatever it was, this thing it just didn't look. I couldn't really tell what it was about it, but there was something about it that just looked unnatural to me. Of course, I found out later on why that was, as it got closer to me, and I could tell what it was. And this thing was actually taking a longer path of travel than I was, the way that it was running. But I could tell, I mean, this thing was going to come in direct contact with me somewhere around this curve. And, I mean, it was moving fast. I mean, super fast. I couldn't really tell what it was, but, I mean, it was one of the fastest moving things that I'd ever seen. Anyway, as I'm coming around this curve, this thing is just keeping my attention, and my eyes are darting back and forth from the right guy. I have to look at the road, or I'm going to run out of the road because I'm going around a curve, but it's drawing my attention. I keep looking at it and trying to figure out what this thing is and what it is that's so strange about the way that it looks. And it begins to draw a little bit closer to me. And, I kind of thought maybe when it first came out, maybe it might be a deer. There's a whole lot of white-tailed deer in this area that we live in, and pretty much on a daily basis when I'm going to work, I'll see one somewhere along the way that's been hit by a car and killed. And, you know, I didn't want this thing to run out in front of me and hit my car. And for one thing, at that time in Tennessee, there was no law requiring you to have automobile insurance, and my dad, he didn't believe in having it. And so I didn't have any insurance on my car, and I didn't want this thing, whatever it was, to cause me to wreck or to hit my car and do damage to it, because I didn't have the money to fix it or to replace it. But then as I was watching this thing, I noticed that there was something strange about it. I noticed that whatever it was, it wasn't running on all fours. Whatever this thing was, it was on 2 feet.
Oh, shit.
I didn't understand what it was. It just seemed to me like, I mean, the only thing that I know of in this area, and we do have black bears, they're rare, but we do have some in this area, but a black bear just cannot move at the speed that this thing was moving at. I mean, a black bear, when it gets up on its hind legs, it's just not natural for it, and it just moves in a clumsy fashion. And this thing, whatever it was, I mean, it was just moving super fast, and it was just fluid in its motions in the way that it ran, and no bear could get up on its hind feet and run in the way that this thing was running. But yet, you know, it couldn't be a man. I knew that it could not be a man, because I ran track when I was in high school. I ran the 880 relay, ran the 440, and I knew that a human being could not run as fast as this thing was running. And I just couldn't understand what this thing was that was angling across this field and coming toward me, and I knew that was going to intersect me as it came across this field. And as I'm going along, it starts to get a little bit closer as it's running at an angle, but yet at the same time kind of paralleling my car. And it's keeping up with my car. It's keeping up with the speed that I'm going at. And I don't understand this. I don't understand how this thing can be going and keeping the same speed as my car. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm coming into this sharp curve, and I've got to slow down. And I know that this thing pretty soon is going to come out, maybe jump out in front of me and meet the line of travel of my car. And as it drew closer, I began to see more details about this thing, and it for definite sure was running on its hind legs. It wasn't on all fours. It was on its hind legs like a man, but it wasn't like a man. I mean, this thing was on its hind legs, but it wasn't standing up fully erect like a human being does. This thing was, it kind of appeared stooped as it was running. It was standing up. It was on its hind legs, but yet it wasn't standing up straight, and this didn't look like a human figure. It looked like something totally different. It looked like something that, I mean, I'd never seen anything that looked like this thing. And as it begins to draw closer, I began to pick out more detail about it. And I can tell that whatever this thing is, it don't have knees like a human being does. This thing has hocks like a horse or a cow or a deer or something like that. But a four-legged animal like that cannot run on its hind legs like that. I mean, cannot possibly move as fast and as fluidly and as swiftly as this thing was moving. And then I noticed, I could see in the moonlight that it looked like it had a big dog's head. I mean, that's all I know how to explain it. I mean, it had a long snout on it like a wolf or maybe like a German shepherd. And it looked like it had long, tall ears that were standing straight up on the top of its head. And I could see that it had a long, bushy tail. And the only thing I know that I can think of that it reminded me of was a coyote's tail. But at that time, I don't think, we got them here now. They came in here now, but I don't think we even had coyotes in this part of the country at that time. I'd never heard about it anyway. And there's no way that a coyote would be that big, and there's no way that it could run on its hind legs like this thing was running. And that tail, it stringed out behind it, that long bushy tail, and it was kind of bouncing up and down a little bit as it was running. And I noticed that this thing had arms, and that the arms, they were kind of pumping like a human being's, but, you know, when a human runs, a human being pumps his arms almost as fast as his legs are moving, and this thing was kind of pumping them, but they weren't moving as fast as its legs were moving. And another thing that I noticed the majority of the time when a human being runs, a human kind of clenches their fist when they run. And this thing wasn't doing that. It was almost holding its hands, and that's what they looked like. It didn't look like paws to me. I can only describe them as hands. It more or less looked like they were hanging almost limp as it ran, and I could see the fingers hanging down as this thing ran. And as it began to draw closer, I could see that it had hair or fur all over its body. I could see that, and I could tell that. I couldn't really tell for sure, but it looked to me like it was black. But later on, I realized that that's what color it was, but I really couldn't tell the color yet at this point. And so this thing begins to draw closer. And as I said, it was a really hot night, and I was driving along in my car, and I had my windows rolled down because I didn't have any air conditioning on it. And, you know, this thing keeps drawing closer and closer to me. And I just, you know, my unease just grows more and more, and I'm starting to get scared. I don't understand it. I don't know what this thing is. I just can't make out what this thing is. It don't look like anything that I've ever seen before, and it begins to draw closer. It gets close to the barbed wire fence on the right-hand side, and I think, well, maybe it's going to slow down, or maybe it'll veer off where it won't run into that barbed wire, and it'll turn aside out of my way. But it didn't do that. Instead of doing that, this thing sped up, and instead of turning aside, it jumped right over the fence, and it landed on my side of the fence, in between the ditch line and the fence, and then it took another bound. And the next thing I know, this thing is out in the road. I mean, it's right next to my vehicle, and it scared me so bad that I jerked the wheel, and I ran over into the left lane, and I was driving in the left-hand lane. And if there'd been a car coming, I mean, you know, it would have hit me head on, but it scared me so bad when this thing jumped across the fence, and I thought it was going to jump right into my vehicle, that I you know, just not thinking, instinctually, I just jerked the wheel to the left and went over as far as I dared into the left-hand lane. And this thing, it started running right along the side of me. And I want to tell you, Vic, like I said, I had the windows rolled down, but I had cherry bomb mufflers on that car. And if you know what they're like, they're loud. But yet, at the same time, I could hear the nails of this thing, the toenails, click, 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 clacking on the road as it ran along beside me. And I could see it good now. And, you know, I really didn't want to look at its face. I really didn't want to see its face. But I couldn't help it. It's just like I couldn't help myself. I had to. And, I mean, this thing was tall. It had to be at least 7 feet tall. It towered over the top of my car. And it was running along beside me. It couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 feet off the passenger side of my car. Just, I mean, right even with my passenger side window, I could see it just as clear as day as it ran along beside of me. And I really didn't want to see its face, but I felt like I just couldn't help it. I had to. And so, and it was so tall, I had to kind of lean over, almost lay over on the right side, kind of in the seat, and prop myself up with my hand on the right side while I hung on to the wheel and drove with the left to get a look at it and to see its face. And I wish that I hadn't, but I did. You know, this thing definitely, I mean, it had to be, like I said, it had to be 7 feet tall, Vic. Oh, God. This thing, it looked like a gigantic wolf, or maybe something like a German Shepherd or something like that. But its ears were different. They were slim, and they were high and pointed, like I said, on top, and had kind of like tusks sticking out. And, you know, I've heard a lot of people describe these things, and I've heard them say that, you know, they couldn't tell what they were. But I'm here to tell you this thing was a male. There was no doubt about that. I mean, it was right there in the open, in the clear, just as plain as day, right in front of me. And I'm not going to use any kind of vulgarity or anything like that, but let me just put it this way. As I leaned over and looked out the vehicle, I mean, I could tell just exactly what it was, because it was right there at the base of his belly, right in front of me, and I could tell just as plain as day that it was a male. This thing is running along beside of me. And, you know, at first, it's like it's not even seeing me. It's like it's not even paying attention to me in my car. Like it don't even notice us, or like it just don't even care about me being there in that car as it's running along. And you know, my eyes are darting back and forth, like I said, from the road to this thing as I'm trying to drive around this curve. And man, I wanted to hit the gas, and I wanted to just floor it, and I wanted to get out of there, but I didn't dare do it because I was afraid I would run out of the road and run into the ditch, and I would wreck. And I'd be with this thing, and I mean, I'd just be right there at its mercy. But yet I wanted to, because I could tell. I mean, this thing had arms. If it hadn't had them, if it didn't have them bent and wasn't pumping them as it ran, this thing's arms would have hung down below its hocks, Vic. And I know that if it wanted to, this thing could have reached right in my car window and right over to the driver's side from the passenger side, and this thing could have grabbed me, and it could have drugged me right out of the car. If it wanted to, it could have just ripped my head off, or it could have leaned in my car window, and it could have bit my head off. I don't know. I know it could have, and I wanted to get out of there, but I didn't dare, because I was in this steep curve, and I knew that if I hit the gas, this car probably wasn't going to be able to handle the curve, and it was going to run off in the ditch, and I was going to wreck, and I was going to be there alone with this thing, and I was going to be at its mercy. And like I said, I mean, I got a good look at it. I got a real good look at what this thing looked like, and it was just as jet black as it could be. It had hair or fur over most of its body, maybe about 3 or 4 inches long, thick fur, and it was glossy. It had a sheen on it. It was reflecting the light from that full moon, and I mean, it was just thick all over its body, except for it kind of thinned out down on its belly. Kind of, you know, up above its legs. But other than that, it was just thick hair maybe about 4 inches long, and up around its head, the back of its head, and kind of like down over, I don't know what to call it other than shoulders, down over his shoulders. It was maybe about 5-6 inches long, just a little bit longer. I've heard people describe it kind of as the mane of a lion, but it wasn't that long. It wasn't that much difference in the length of the hair, but you could tell that it was just a little bit longer. And this thing, like I said, it had a long snout on it, like a German Shepherd or like a wolf. And I could see as it was running along beside me, I could see its mouth was kind of relaxed and open, and I could see that it had jagged shaped teeth like a dog's got on the side of its mouth, but it had fangs that were about maybe 4 inches long that were hanging down over its bottom lip, and the bottom ones were disappearing up into the top lip. But its mouth was kind of parted, and it kind of had its tongue hanging out on the left side of its mouth, just like a dog does as it runs along, as it's painting. And like I said, this thing wasn't paying a bit more attention to me than if I wasn't even there. And for a little while, it just ran along beside me and just didn't pay me any attention. But that didn't last. Just slowly, seemed like it took forever, but just slowly, it started to turn its head, and it looked at me. And I know that you said that you shouldn't, and I've heard other people say that you shouldn't, but I couldn't help it. I looked full in its eyes. I wish that I hadn't. I wish I'd never seen it. I wish I could erase the picture of what I saw from my.
Do you hear the stress in this man's voice? Okay, he saw something. Goddammit, I believe what he saw.
My mind, but I can't. And, I've heard people say that they had amber or yellow eyes or red or orange-like eyes, but that's not what I saw that night. This thing had great big black eyes, and I couldn't see any kind of pupil. I couldn't see any kind of white or anything like that. But all I could see was black, and then they just looked as black to me as a bottomless pit. They just seemed soulless to me. And I tell you, Vic, I just had a sense of evil that came over me, and this thing, when it looked at me, it was like that it could look through me and look to my very soul, and like I said, I just felt like I had been touched by evil. I don't know how else to explain it, and there was such a fear, and I wanted to scream or to holler out or do something, but it just seemed like my mouth just dried up like cotton, and there wasn't a sound that would come out. And I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get away from this thing, but I couldn't because I was afraid I was going to wreck. And then it came closer to my vehicle, Vic, and it leaned down. It leaned in, and mind you, this thing is running beside my car the whole time. And it leaned over, Vic, and it stuck its head in my window, and it grabbed hold of my door with its right hand. And that, I don't know how to describe it as other than that. It was a hand, and I know that people had described this thing as, to say that they kind of look like raccoon hands, and maybe in a way that's right, or maybe a mix between the hand of a raccoon and maybe the hand of a monkey, something like that. But this thing had huge hands, and it had long black nails, maybe about 3 inches long, 2 or 3 inches long, on the ends of its nails, long black thick nails. And this thing put its right hand on my door, and I could hear it. It put its left hand on my doorknob, and it was jerking at my door, and it was jiggling my door handle. But thank goodness, when I had been at my wife's house, then my girlfriend, and I'd been at her parents' house, I'd locked the car. And when I came back out, I didn't unlock that door because nobody was going to be riding with me at that point before I went back to get my mother. And so it wasn't able to get my door open. But this thing was leaning in my window, and it was looking right at me. And it seemed like that it curled its lips back, and I know it smiled at me, but I don't really remember hearing it. All I could hear was the sound of my engine and the sound of its toenails as it ran along beside my vehicle, going clack 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 on the pavement. And this, it breathed on me, and it was hot breath, and it was you know how people describe that breath as being kind of fetid, and seemed like I could smell blood and maybe decaying flesh as it breathed on me. It was horrible. And I thought I was dead. I thought this was the end of me. I thought it was a goner. I thought it was a dead man for sure. And just about that time, the curve ended, and I came into a straightaway. And I just hit the gas and pushed it to the floor, and I took my eyes off of it, and I looked ahead. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw its nails. I saw it lose a grip on my car door, and I saw its nails rake across the top of my door. And its head disappeared from my window. And I don't know, I had to be going 70 or 80 miles an hour. I don't know for a time there. I just had to peel out there and get away from this thing. And as I drove away from it, as I pulled away from it, I looked in my rearview mirror and I could see it getting smaller and smaller as it began to slow down. And the last thing I remember, the last thing that I saw, this thing veered off to the right again and jumped over the fence and disappeared into that field. And I'm telling you, Vic, I've never been so scared in all of my life. I mean, it was just absolutely horrifying. And I went on and drove on it, and this happened maybe about 2 miles from my house, where I live now, and maybe it couldn't have been over a mile and a half from my grandparents' house. And I went on there, and I picked my mom up, but I never told her a thing about what happened. And I never told my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. Like I said, I never told her, and I've never told her in the 35 years since this has happened. I never told any of my friends. I didn't tell my dad. I've never told any of my children. I've never told anybody until I filed the report with you the other day. And you called me. I've never talked to anybody about this and told them about what happened. I tell you, it was the most horrifying experience of my life. And my dad, he asked me the next day where the scratches came from on my vehicle. And I told him that I run out of the road and I run into a thorn bush, and that's where the scratches came from. And I tell you, Vic, I love that car. I mean, I loved it. But I could not keep that car thinking about what happened. And what I went through that night, I just couldn't keep it. I had to get rid of it. And I traded that car for a 74 Nova, and I got rid of it. And you know, as time went on, I mean, I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for nights after this. If I would drift off to sleep, I'd wake up having nightmares, seeing this thing happen over and over again. And I couldn't keep it out of my mind when I'd lay in my bed. And I'd think about it and just go over and over and over what happened in my mind. And you know, that night, I didn't know what I'd seen. I really didn't understand what it was. You know, I'd read about and heard about werewolves and things like that, but I really didn't connect this thing with that. And you asked me, you mentioned, maybe in the pre-interview, you mentioned about horror movies. And I can tell you right now, I don't watch horror movies. I hear people talk about saying it looked like this werewolf in this movie or that movie, but I've never seen them. The only werewolf movies that I ever saw were the old Lon Chaney movies when I was a kid. That's the only ones I've ever watched. Anything that come out after 1981, I can tell you right now, I've not seen it because I won't watch them. My wife, when my kids were little, my sisters would come up and they loved horror movies, and my wife loves horror movies, and so did my children. And my wife, you know, they'd go, and back then we had VCRs, and we rented movies, and they'd go out and they'd rent horror movies, and I'd go to bed, or I'd go off in another room. I could not watch them, and I can't watch them to this day. I told you this caused just extreme bad behavior in me. I mean, I engaged in things. I'm not going into details what they were. I hate that I did them, but I did things that I know now was trying to deal with this. But, you know, I put it out of my mind, and I suppressed it for all those years. But yet there was something that bothered me. And, you know, my house is only about 40 or 50 yards from the woods. I've got woods in behind my house. I've got woods on the right side of my house. I've got woods on the left side of my house. And I've always had an anxiety about living so close to the woods. And I know now that that's why that is. And when I go out in my backyard, I just can't stay out there because I feel like that there's something out there, that there's something lurking in the woods that's looking at me and that's watching me. And I just can't stand it, and I have to go back in the house. And, you know, I used to want to hunt. But in 35 years after this thing has happened to me, since I saw this thing that I now know, I couldn't explain it then. I thought maybe it might be a demon. I thought maybe I was having a waking nightmare, or maybe it's just my imagination. I just didn't have any explanation for it. And I now know that that thing was a Dogman. I didn't know about them then, and I didn't understand. But now I know that's what that thing was. And I tell you, Vic, like I said, I used to want to hunt, but I can't do it. In the past 35 years, I have not hunted one time. I own guns. I love guns, but the only thing that I do is target shoot with them. I don't take them into the woods because I just can't do it. I mean, I tried to go a couple of times, but I just couldn't stand it. I just had to leave because there's something out there, and I know it's out there. And, you know, like I said, I put this thing out of my mind, and I really wasn't thinking about what it was. I know what it is now because when I heard the description of a Dogman on Dogman Encounters, this all came flooding back to me, and I know what it is now. And I tell you, Vic, I know that these things are real. I know that night it wasn't a demon, it wasn't my imagination, it wasn't some kind of waking dream. I know that I saw a real, living, breathing animal. And I tell you, I believe these things are dangerous. I mean, I hear about these people that want to have an encounter and go out and hunt for them or hunt for Bigfoot. You know, there was a time I thought maybe I might like to do something like that. But I tell you right now, I think they're crazy. These things are nothing to fool with. And I don't think anybody ought to go out there looking to meet up with one of these things. You may meet up with it for real. And you may wish, like I wish, that you had never seen the thing. And I tell you, I've heard you say that you should never look these things in the eye. But I did that night. I looked this thing full into the eye, and it felt like it was looking into my very soul. I felt like it knew everything about me. And when it looked at me that night, and something else that I forgot to mention a while ago, when it stuck its head in my open window and looked at me and curled its lips back, I mean, like I said, it was like it was giving me a seditious grin, and it licked its chops. You know, you've seen a wolf or a dog do that. It licked its chops at me, Vic, like it was telling me, I know that you're lunch. There's not a thing that you can do to stop me if I want to hurt you, and you look awful delicious to me. That's how I felt. That's what it looked like to me, that it was conveying to me that night. And I tell you, I was scared to death. I was horrified. I've never, ever, ever experienced anything in my life that scared me so bad as that did that night. Oh, it was awful. And basically, that's what happened to me, Vic.
JT, God bless you.
Oh, it was awful.
That was a really bad encounter. Do you feel any better now that you've been able to get that story out?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, Vic, I have to say, I feel so much better. But I want to tell you right now, where I'm sitting, I'm sitting in an abandoned parking lot, and it's kind of overgrown, and there's trees up around me, and I'm starting to feel a little bit anxious about that, but I do feel better about talking to somebody about this.
Oh, I can understand your anxiety. Speaking of that topic right there, after going through such a nightmarish encounter, why do you still live in such a heavily wooded area?
Well, really, I don't have any choice. I mean, unless I moved into some kind of subdivision, and even the subdivisions aren't that far away from it. The part of the country that I live in East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia, it's all the same. Southeastern Kentucky is the same. West Virginia is the same. North Carolina is the same. I mean, you know, like I said, I live in Appalachia. And everything around here is narrow valleys and hollows and draws and things like that. And we're just surrounded on every side. I mean, we've got forest everywhere. I mean, there's trees everywhere. Unless I move out of this part of the country, there's nowhere I can go to get away from it.
Oh, I see. That makes sense. You said you live about 2 miles from where that encounter happened. What kind of anguish and problems does that cause for you?
Oh, it causes me a lot of problems. Of course, like I said, I had suppressed this thing and put it out of my mind. But yet, at the same time, I just felt anxiety about living where I do. And I love this part of the country. You know, I've had opportunities to move away. I could make more money if I did. I could do what I do here. I could do it somewhere else, and I could make a lot more money. And I've had offers, but I love this part of the country, even though...
Yo, that's really how he talks. Like, Vic, that's how Vic really talks. A couple people have met him. Josh from Paranormal Roundtable has met Vic, and they say he looks like... there's a picture of Vic somewhere on Facebook. They say he looks like a Ryan Reynolds, like he's kind of jacked, and he's got the face and a chiseled jaw, but he talks. This is his real speaking voice.
It does give me anxiety to be surrounded so much by woodland and know there's so much wildlife around me, and maybe things that aren't known to science, and maybe things that are dangerous. But yet I love this area and I love my family. I don't want to go away from my family, even though I'm 52 years old. I still have grandparents alive. My mother's still living, and my wife's parents are still living. And I don't want to leave my family. But it does cause me worry about what might be out there lurking in the woods. There's a fairly good population here where I live, but yet at the same time, there's enough woodland around here, enough forest to hide 1,000 of these things, and nobody ever see them if they didn't want to be seen.
Since your family members don't know about Dogman, does that cause you a lot of angst, worrying about what kind of danger that might put them in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I worry about it all the time. Of course, we do live in dangerous times with all the terrorism we have and violence and crime. But, you know, that's how I've always explained it, by worrying about that. And my children are grown, by the way. My oldest son's in his 30s and my youngest son's in his 20s. They don't like it because I caution them and I call them and I want them to let me know where they are and if they're safe and all like that. And they tell me, you know, Dad, we're grown men, but, you know, I still worry about them. And I worry about my wife like that. And she tells me I'm overprotective of her. But deep down, I believe that that's what has caused me to be that way all this time.
Yeah, that is a difficult position that all this has put you in, so I can understand the difficulty in dealing with it. Since you had your encounter, have you heard about anyone else in your area seeing what might have been a Dogman?
No, I've not really heard anybody else talk about that, but I've got a neighbor that I haven't actually talked to him personally. I've had an in-law tell me about it because he knows the guy, but a man that lives near me in the same community that I live in, he says that there's a Bigfoot up there, but I haven't ever personally seen anything like that, but, you know, I've heard about it.
Well, considering all the timber you have around you, I'd be astonished if you didn't have a pretty healthy population. I know that's not news you want to hear, but that's how it is. Have there been unusual numbers of pets and/or farm animals that went missing in your area?
Well, you see all the time on telephone poles and things like that, you see pictures of cats and of dogs up and rewards offered saying they're missing and, giving contact information and all like that. And I've even had people tell me or call me or maybe even post things on Facebook asking to watch out for missing animals. But, it seems like you don't ever hear about them being found, only about them being missing.
Yeah, sounds like you've got a real problem there. That's not to say that it's dogmen that are behind that, but it sure does make you wonder. How does it feel being able to get all this off your chest now?
Oh, I tell you, it is a great relief of mine. I didn't really know how much it would. I thought maybe it would. Maybe it might help some because, it helps to talk about problems that you have and events that go wrong in your life and things like that. Intellectually, I understood it had to help to talk to somebody about it, but I really didn't know how much it was going to help me. And I tell you, Vic, I feel so much better than I did before I told somebody about this.
Well, that's really good news. That's what this is all about. I'm so glad to hear that. As the years have gone by, has it gotten easier for you to deal with that experience, or did it stay just about the same?
Well, up until 8-9 months, maybe a year ago, when I first heard Dogman encounters, I just put it out of my mind, and I wasn't dealing with it. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. I wasn't dealing with it. And like I said, for a time after this occurred, maybe for about 3 years before my wife and I got married, I engaged in some very, very destructive behavior, and I almost destroyed our relationship by the things that I did, and I almost destroyed the relationship with my other family members before I came to my senses and saw what I was going to lose if I continued on in the behavior that I was engaging in. And it very well could have been destructive to my health, could have even resulted in my death. I mean, I was really, really careless with what I was doing. But, I just buried it behind me in my mind after that and put it away and suppressed it. And I know that now, but even at that, there would be times that I handled my relationships with my wife and my children and others well and was nice and kind to them, but yet there was a deep-seated anxiety that was still there. There was still something that was bothering me, and it just plagued my mind, and at times I would just explode in a rage. I never hurt any of them. I never hit them or anything like that, and I wasn't verbally abusive other than just being hateful. But, I understand now that that thing that I had buried in the back of my mind that was still bothering me, I know that that was the source to it. And since I've had this outlet with Dogman encounters and listening to the other people talk about what they've gone through, it's helped me so much. And I know this is going to help me even more in the future, having told somebody about this.
I'm so glad this has helped you the way it has. Besides the way you mentioned treating your family, is there anything else you wish you could go back and do differently?
Well, to be honest with you, Vic, I had a good friend in high school, and he's still my friend now. We're still friends today. And we've been friends for over 40 years, and he knows just about everything about me. The only person who knows me better is my wife and my mother. And I wish now that I had told him about that. And I may tell him here before too long, maybe the next time that we get together, I'll just come out and tell him. And I think maybe he might have been understanding. I wish I'd told somebody about this. I don't think I would have had the problems that I had as a result of it.
Well, I wish you would have told someone too. Sounds like he probably would have been the best person to share this with, but it sounds like you are on a good solid road to recovery, so that's a good thing. It's pretty easy to predict some of the effects your experience had on you, but were there any effects one wouldn't expect?
Well, like I said, it just made me so leery of the woods. And, there's a great tradition of hunting in my part of the country. I mean, everybody hunts. A lot of people in my family hunt on both sides, but that's something that I just can't do now. And, I never would have thought that that would have had that effect on me. As a kid, my dad never took me hunting. He just wasn't a hunter. But I had uncles and cousins that they loved to hunt, and I would go with them as a kid, and I really enjoyed it. I never would have thought that I would reach a place where I'd be unable to do it. But I just can't. I just can't. I can't go. I can't. When I was talking to you the other day, because my wife don't know about this, I kind of walked into the woods, but I couldn't walk very far. I maybe went about 15 or 20 yards into the woods, and I had to turn around and come back out because I just couldn't take it. I just can't stand it. I just feel like, I'm constantly looking around me. I just feel like maybe something's going to jump out on me or something like that. I just have such a sense of anxiety. I just can't deal with being in the woods.
Most eyewitnesses go through the exact same thing you're talking about going through yourself, so that's no surprise. Do you feel like you're better prepared to handle another encounter now if you happen to have one?
Oh, I believe that I would, Vic, most certainly. I think I can handle it better now because, for one thing, I'd know what it is. I'd understand what it is. And at the time that this happened, I just did not understand what this thing was. I didn't know what to make of it. I'd never heard of anything like that. And even though, it kind of looks like, I guess, what they say a werewolf looks like, but I just didn't tie it with that, and I didn't have any explanation for it.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's to be expected. When you see something like that, it's going to be hard to put a finger on it and explain it. Did you learn anything about yourself through all this that you wouldn't have expected?
Yeah, I learned I wasn't as tough as I thought I was. I was raised in a fairly rough family. My father was a rough man. I mean, this was the kind of guy, he made me get in my first fight when I was a kid. I mean, he was a rough guy. And I grew up around rough people, and I thought I was tough, but I found out when I ran into this thing, I wasn't anywhere near as tough as I thought I was.
I don't blame you for not wanting to tangle with one of these things. That wouldn't be a smart move. Some elderly sisters told you one time about a wild man that looked in a window at them. Please tell us about what happened to him.
These two ladies, both of them passed away maybe within a year or two of one another, but both these ladies lived almost into their hundreds. So they were up like 98, 99 years old when they died, 97, something like that. So they would have probably been born, in the 19 teens anyway, maybe around 1910, something like that. And I run into these ladies in church. I'll let you know that much. That's how I was acquainted with them. They knew who I was and what I was and about my position and all like that. So even though they told me about what they called a wild man, which as soon as they did, I knew they were talking about a Bigfoot, but that's not what they called it. Like I said, they called it a wild man. And back then, now in this area that I live in, most places didn't get electricity around here till, it was poor. Like I said, it's Appalachia. It was a poor area, and most of the rural communities and areas didn't get electricity until, after World War II. People still lived in log cabins, and this particular family, and I'll call them McAllisters, that's not their real name, but it was a Scottish name like that. There's a lot of Scots-Irish in my part of the country. But they had two log cabins in their family. Part of the family lived in one log cabin, and part of the family lived in the other. And these things happened that they were telling me about when these old women were little girls, when they were just, I think maybe it was happening in their preteen and their teenage years before they got married. Of course, back then, around here, women got married 14, 15, 16 years old, so they had to be, real young. And they said that there was what they called a wild man that would come and pick on the sides of their cabin, and that would throw rocks and sticks at their cabin, and that would try to look in their windows and look at them at night. And, of course, they described this wild man as being real tall and big, and they described it as not wearing any clothes and having hair all over his body. And as soon as they described that, I knew that they had to be talking about a Bigfoot. But they never once used the term Bigfoot or the term Sasquatch. They just called them wild men, and that's all. And they're not the only one. I've heard other people, old people, talk about stories like that about wild men. And I didn't know it at the time, but, one of the biggest sayings that people warn their kids around here in this part of the country is, you better not be outside after dark because a booger man will get you. And I didn't realize it when I was a kid, and I remember my grandparents saying that to me. And I didn't realize when I was a kid that when they said booger man, they were talking about a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. That's what they were talking about, but I didn't realize that. I thought, the booger man or something like that was a devil or something, because they used it in that connotation as well. But I realize now that they were talking about Bigfoot when they were talking about booger man, or we'll get you. And that brings to mind another event that occurred, and
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I just wanted to get his story. I wanted to re-listen to his story again. Like I said, every couple of days we'll just pick out a scary encounter and just listen to them tell their story. But definitely the other two, Matt Emsch, his story is pretty much everybody knows his story. From Ohio, and then Roy Stubblefield, the trucker that killed one. So maybe tomorrow we'll cover one of those two stories and let them tell it. But I just wanted to kind of go over this stuff. Definitely wanted to revisit Blue, Fort Pierce, Florida. Y'all be careful down there. You got creatures down there. That's So yeah. So I'm gonna end it there. Wait, what's Exhibit's best album? I think the first or the second one. Which one? I think whatever song he had about his son before he did it before Will Smith. Motivation. Whatever album that has Motivation song on it, that's his best album. Because he had, I think it was the second or third album, he kind of went commercial, right? Because, true story, the first single, it had a sample. They had the piano or the violin sample. So we had submitted some beats to Dre because he was looking for beats, you know, truth be told. And it had that exact same sample in the same sequence, damn near the same drum pattern, drum sound, drum kit, literally bar for bar. And sure enough, we heard that shit on MTV, the video for it, that first single. And we were like, hey, that sounds like our shit. And that was the lawsuit we filed against Dr. Dre, which ended in an NDA. So, yeah, that whatever album that had that record is probably his best album. So, yeah, that was the debut. That had Motivation on it. Okay, so the second album, which is his mainstream album, had the lead single X. Yeah, it was called X. And that sample that we took from a classical recording, right? We were playing around because I was heavy into classical music at one point, and I'm like, yay, let's play with this. Let's play with this this sample. And Josh played with it. Steve played on top of it, right? Because Steve is musical savant. Like, he used to play with Chick Corea and all the jazz greats. And he actually replayed it, sequenced it, add the drums on top of it. We submitted that in a package, and it wasn't even not even 6 months later. And then the single X drops, and we're like, what the fuck? That's our shit. And yeah, we sued him. So you know, but yeah, that's all I got tonight, y'all. I want to go over the Dogman stuff. I'll do more Dogman stuff and more Cryptid stuff like late at night when I have time. So tomorrow I'll probably go over Matt Imsh's story. We'll do his story, Matt Imsh. Yeah, we'll do his story tomorrow. All right, I'm out of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's night. And yeah.
Boy, ailing like a daddy, he's a Martian. B is for his bars that slap harder than a Spartan. C is for a crib, well, baby goes the rest. E is for diamonds like the one on daddy's chest. Check. E is for easy. F is for family. Wheezy F, baby, that's forever. No phallus on you. Wheezy F, baby, the F is for fidelity. We still on F, always questioning my pedigree. Mr. Mortal Kombat like the F is for fatality. Foolish foes flee or fold fast with finality. Wheezy the philosopher, the F is for veracity. Louisiana dragon turn a boot to one atrocity. They fantasize about me. F is for the fantasy. Millions in the bank living life like it's magic. And lyrical finesse. The F is for facility.